Well, it happened. The new Xbox has been announced and we've got the goods. We've got the info. Hi folks, it's Falcon and today on GameRanks, 10 things you need to know about Xbox Series X. So starting off at number 10, we've got a GPU that is twice as powerful as the one in the Xbox One. Now, while we're a little bit light on specifics as of right now, we have found out that the Xbox Series X will be capable of ray tracing, much more realistic lighting, reflections, shadows, etc. And not just because of some streaming technology, the GPU is actually really beefy. On top of that, though we don't know exactly what is being used for either the GPU or CPU, apparently the CPU is 4 times as powerful as the CPU in the Xbox One X. Keeping in mind the One X has got a 2.3 GHz CPU with 8 cores in it, I am eager to see exactly what that means. Now, it is important to understand that it's not necessarily just about raw numbers. Phil Spencer talked about how input-output is always an issue, and the bandwidth they're talking about apparently has a 40 times improvement in speed. They've also upgraded to GDDR6 memory in order to ensure that the memory keeps up with everything else. Moving on to number 9. For anybody who doesn't like load times, the next thing is a really big development. The Xbox Series X is going to be using NVMe SSD drives, which, if you're not hip with the lingo, is a new type of solid-state drive that has been increasingly becoming a standard in the PC space, particularly in high-performance laptops that I don't know if you've seen the difference between laptops booting up now and laptops booting up 5 years ago, but laptops boot up way faster now. It's because of NVMe solid-state drives. Now, if you've ever seen one of these, they really don't look a lot like a regular hard drive or solid-state drive. They actually look a little bit like RAM. They're tiny, and if you saw it, you probably wouldn't even think it was a hard drive, but rest assured, these things are basically the future. Given how little space they take up, it's not shocking how quickly it's become a standard. Moving on to number 8, the Xbox Series X is a beefy boy. If you are looking at this thing, it's so much more of an actual box than any previous Xbox. Essentially, we're talking about basically a rectangular prism rather than our traditional sort of flat style console. Now that being said, it actually doesn't look like it takes up a massive amount of space, comparing it to the size of the controller, which is apparently about the same size, if not exactly the same size, as the current controller. Thankfully, I don't really want them to make a lot of changes as far as the controller goes, but if I'm honest, it's pretty cool looking. It apparently supports both vertical and horizontal orientation, so it will sit on your shelf just fine one way or the other. And given the actual size of it, I think it might actually kind of be alright on a shelf. I don't think it's going to fit into every single shelf that you've designed around your standard shaped consoles, but on the other hand, there's a lot of room in it, and components keep getting smaller, so I'm pretty optimistic, honestly. I have a feeling the cooling system in it is going to be good, and I think that that's going to be helpful. Moving on to number 7. Like I said, we don't have exact specifics on our processor, on our CPU, and all of these things, but we do have some graphics to look at in the form of the Hellblade 2 trailer, which is impressive to say the least. This trailer is running in-engine. It promises to be a big scale increase, and looking at what we're seeing in the trailer, it seems like Senua is raising some kind of an army against a very big foe. This game looks incredible. If it looks anything like this when it comes out, if this isn't some bizarre extreme version that they downgrade horrifically, it's probably going to be among the best looking games ever, and this is what they're showing out of the gate. This is what they want us to expect. Frankly, I'm ready for an era of games that look like this, and I'm excited that they're using single-player games to show off these graphics. Moving on to number 6, 2 important words that we have not heard enough of for the last couple of console generations, except perhaps on the Xbox side of things. Those words are backwards compatibility, of course, which I'm very excited to hear that we will have full backwards compatibility on all games and accessories with the new Xbox Series X. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say that probably doesn't mean you can plug in your really old massive Xbox controller, but you can insert game discs from the Xbox and play the games. 4 generations of gaming on one machine. That's really good. We need more of that. That means all the great games we're playing right now, we will be playing on the Xbox Series X. And I'm frankly looking forward to that quite a bit, especially knowing that some games of this era look incredible and probably could very easily be patched to look even better. And at number 5, as far as what types of resolutions and frame rates this thing can output, I'm fairly interested to see exactly how it utilizes this, but it has support for up to 120 frames per second with variable refresh rate, and has the capacity to put out an 8K image. If you're unaware, that means 4320p, which is extreme to say the least. There are ongoing arguments as to the idea that 8K doesn't even have perceptible difference to the human eye, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a good reason to do it anyway. If it's overkill, but it works, who cares? Let's get the most photorealistic image we possibly can. And yeah, let's get it from our gaming consoles. Why not? If the thing is designed to output 8K, then the possibility of 4K being a low resolution is actually a pretty impressive thought. And having these killer looking games that people are going, well, it's not utilizing all of the console's power, sounds great to me, and I can't wait for that situation. At 4, I mentioned that I think it's probably going to have a good cooling system, and part of that is due to the vent on the top of this thing, which is a very obvious vent and seems like it will probably do a good job allowing heat to escape. Now, it's interesting to learn that the console itself only really has one fan, meaning it probably isn't going to be any louder than the Xbox One X, but it also seems like it's designed in a way that it's going to be very easy to suck air right out of the thing. If anything, it even seems like it's designed around heat. It's a cool design. I like what this console looks like, but I can imagine some people being a little bit confused by it, given, like I said, it's a big rectangular prism. I'm looking forward to finding out exactly how noisy it is, but given it's one fan, it probably isn't going to be a big change. That's good. At number 3, let's talk the name just a little bit. The Series X name was apparently chosen to give freedom to other names. As in, there will be other Series X things, most likely. In a lot of ways, it sounds a lot like a car name. I think it's intended to at least some degree to imply power, because it's not an uncommon naming convention to have series in a special edition or high-powered or sports edition version of a car. I think it's probably a pretty clever move for them branding-wise, except for one aspect. It's probably going to cause some degree of confusion with parents. I can very easily see some parents saying, Xbox One X? That must be Series X. It's not dumb logic is what I'm saying. I would say that somebody who isn't paying attention to video games, and a lot of parents aren't, although more are nowadays, might understandably make mistakes. Beyond that though, it's a cool name. I can't say it's not a cool name. Coming in at number 2, we do have some interesting controller developments, although I wouldn't say anything is shocking about it. Like I said in a previous point, it's roughly the same size. There are some minor differences in shape. It's a little bit more rounded from front to back for ergonomic reasons, and it has a different D-pad, the sort of hybrid D-pad like the Elite controller. Honestly, I'm happy that this is the thing that they're reinventing the wheel the least on. Yes, they've added a share button like the PlayStation controller. That's not huge in 2019 though. This controller has been probably the de facto standard controller for all gaming for the last few generations. It's comfortable, it's nice. I don't think there's a good reason for them to mess with it, and they didn't, so great. In my opinion, they've done the very smart thing here, and I'm looking forward to holding this thing in my hands. And finally, at number 1, a brief point, but probably the most important one, the release date. Now, we do not have an exact date as of yet, but holiday 2020 is the final release window. I think we all basically expected this, and that means it's going to be probably going head-to-head with the PlayStation 5, of course, and I think there's not a single one of us that isn't excited for this. But what are you thinking? Leave us a comment, let us know. And if you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe, and do not forget to click the notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.